Istanbul made no progress on ending the 3-year war. This is AP News. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk says Parliament will hold a confidence vote on his government on June 11th. The decision came after his political ally, the liberal Warsaw mayor, lost Poland's weekend presidential election to conservative Karol Nawrocki. AP correspondent Ed Donahue reports on volcanic activity in Europe.
One of the world's most active volcanoes is active again. Mount Etna in Sicily sent a huge cloud of smoke and ash several miles into the sky. Experts say part of the southeast crater collapsed, resulting in hot lava flows. It was the 14th eruptive phase in recent months. Despite the fiery show, local officials say it posed no danger to the population. The area of danger was confined to the summit of Etna, which was closed to tourists as a precaution. Sicily's president says lava flows emitted in the eruption had not passed the natural containment area.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Mostly cloudy skies here for today. We'll see a high in the upper 80s. Breezy southwest winds increase around 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting as high as 35. For tonight, a chance for some rain late, cloudy, a low near 67. By Wednesday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy, temperatures steady early, then slowly fall through the day. Thursday, mostly sunny skies. We'll see a high around 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 70.
Do you disregard people's personal space? Sitting next to people in public, even if there are tons of open seats? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. There's still time. Come to Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale and get a queen mattress and adjustable base for just $499.99. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage egg croissant plus small seasoned potatoes for $3. It's the breakfast that don't miss. So if you did miss Wendy's breakfast, don't imagine. Fresh cracked eggs, sizzling sausage, crispy bacon, and block out those hot, buttery, flaky croissants. Croissants don't really make a sound, but if they did, for a breakfast that don't miss, Wendy's is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's. Select a request $3 breakfast deal to obtain discount. Not valid for a la carte or combo orders.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Tuesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the June 3rd, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our Credo Mobile phone and text line, Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. I got caught up, Devin, on a couple of emails from folks that I had to get to. Catch me on Substack. There will be some posts this week for sure. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get the Choose Views short version and long versions of the show. Of course, as I said, that means you can get the featured interviews and full episodes. Also, make sure you are checking out my great colleagues, Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive, and Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews that are there. Make your way over to heartlandsignal.com, which is our digital platform. And I'll talk a little bit more about that today and during the show, because there's some really good clips on Heartland Signal on X that you guys will want to check out. But speaking of checking things out, check this out, progressives.
Shame on all of you Christians who want to keep talking about your faith when this is what God talked about. I don't know where you go to church and I don't know what you read, but Being a good Christian doesn't take much. Do unto others. Take care of your neighbor. Keep your hand out of other people's pockets. Not much, but you wouldn't know it in this chamber. You wouldn't know it. You'd think that this side of the chamber are the most raging Christians in the world. It never stops being disappointed in this room. It never stops because we've never yet hit bottom, but we are getting very, very close. And you got your agenda and it's coming. But you're going to listen to me and you're going to listen to us. But we'd like to hear you, in your words, tell us why you hate those people. Tell us why you want to grind them and take them out of Iowa, because that's what this does. Shame on you.
That would be Iowa State Senator Tony Bisignano talking about Christians and Pride Month. And I'm going to take a couple moments to chat about that, and then we'll take a break. I'll let you know about who our guests are today. And I will say Happy Pride Month. I wanted to play this clip yesterday, but we weren't able to get it in. I think so. Happy Pride Month. The WCPT. We will be a part of the Pride Parade. What's the Sunday? The 20. What is the last? It's the last Sunday of the month, 29th, I think. So we'll be there as we have been for years, and it's been an honor and prideful event for us to be at Pride. On our float, and it's always fun. It's silly and funny and crazy, and we get to wave at a lot of people, and the blessing of being there is huge. But I want to talk about this for a couple minutes before we go to this first break. On a city level, big cities have their pride parades, and some smaller cities do, states do, and we know that this current administration has been doing all sorts of things to take away the recognition of our LGBTQ community, whether it be in the military, whether it be benefits, whether it be access to care. The list all goes on, and it's being driven by the Heritage Foundation and the folks that are the authors and the perpetrators of Project 2025. So I've got so many thoughts I had to write down just to keep things simple in this short little window before we go to this first break. I think it's beyond cool that that cities in the United States have for a long time celebrated the LGBTQ community with Pride Month, if you will, and Pride parades. And the reason for that is, and this is where my brain went. I said, what is it that causes so many people? And I have a question that I'll ask that hopefully will make some sense. But what is it that creates so much drama for people in this space? And I think what Senator Tony Bisignano from Iowa said is spot on. They just want to grind people down. There's no love in there. There's no care for members of that community. And it's almost like shameful that we even have to take this the right way, y'all. Say things like members of that community, like there's something wrong with those, with people who are, of the LGBTQ community at large or at small or in the middle. They're human beings, and if you are a Christian and you do believe in God and you do think that all God's children are created in the eyes of God or whoever your faith leader happens to be, then you're probably one of the biggest hypocrites. That's why you gotta understand. As a dude in America that happens to be African American, happens to be black, happens to be American black, do you realize the hypocrisy that black folks feel about Christian right, trying to make it seem as though we're less than you? Do you understand that at its core why that is so problematic? And the history is that this country has used religion to separate people more than any other thing, even over economics. Economics is running second. But in my experience, let me clear that up. Let me add a little bit of an asterisk. In my experience, that's been the case. And that's a case for a lot of people. And in the LGBTQ community, it's that again. Trying to reference very narrow parts of interpretation of the quote-unquote Bible to justify harming people. Whether those people, see, I always talk about getting a foot on a cord, and that just happened to me. Well, we'll keep talking till the break. I'll just keep my foot still. But that is one of the reasons why I have such an issue with this Christian nationalism bent. Because here's what we're finding, Devin. There are more of these guys showing up at these various Christian, ultra-Christian churches, these high rollers, churches, holy rollers, I should say, churches, that are being caught assaulting and molesting children. I mean, believe me, if there were a large number of members of the LGBTQ community out there harassing and sexually abusing children, there would be all kinds. I got to get this thing undone. It's making me crazy. It's like I got to, there. All right. There would be all kinds of, law enforcement going after the people perpetrating that in the LGBTQ plus community. But it's not happening. And why? It's because members of the LGBTQ plus community are not, they're not grooming children. They're not out there assaulting children. But you find you see a story every few days of some guy, whether he be a pastor or a deacon or a member of the church, that's been found that's assaulted some child in their congregation or in their church-based school. So when I hear people get bent out of shape about the LGBTQ community and celebrating Pride, and a lot of it's coming from this administration, and a lot of it's coming from the folks behind Project 2025, and a lot of it's coming from people on the right that are so biased when it comes to this conversation. I just ask the question, why do you have a problem with it when it ain't hurting you? I mean, indirectly, it's not even hurting you. But you get behind, but it's my right to own a gun. And listen, it is your right. It's all of our rights to own a gun. If we're going to use the Constitution as, the thing that puts its thumb on the scale. But doggone it, we want to celebrate. We want to acknowledge freedom of speech and freedom of communication and freedom of not access, but the ability to own a gun. But yet we want to create barriers for what we like to call all of God's children by having issues with the LGBTQ community. And these are some created thoughts that I wrote down, but there's also just some sort of, random anecdotal thoughts in there. It's like those people aren't bothering you. I say, and I say that, and I punch myself in the nose for saying those people. I can't believe I even said that. Our brothers and sisters of the LGBTQ community, so I apologize for saying it that way. I shouldn't have said it that way. Are our brothers and sisters, universal brothers and sisters, and how dare we go after those communities that we've marginalized because we've marginalized them primarily because of this fear. This is what it's at its core. And I wrote this down and I put a star by it to say, don't say this, but do say this. At the end of the day, the reason that we have all this craziness going on, whether it be the LGBTQ community or black, white, or other communities, Asian, Mexican, Hispanic, Latino, Jewish, we can go all different communities. At the end of the day, the reason that religion has mucked it all up is because there's sort of this mythical belief that if I'm on the right side of religion and I'm on the right side of God, then when that day comes and I do die, that I'm going to be chosen by God to enter heaven. At the end of the day, it is about that. And I don't care if it's the Muslim faith, the Christian faith. I won't say Buddhism necessarily, because first of all, I don't know enough about the actual tenets inside of. But I know the ones that I do know, the three that we get hammered over the head with the most is the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith, and the Christian faith. All for fighting over one thing: who's going to be able to sit next to God and hang out with Jesus. And for way too long, we've used that as a hammer and a wedge in our society, and we do it with our LGBTQ brothers and sisters. And we need to stop doing that because the members of those communities are our brothers and sisters, and they ain't hurting anybody. And by comparison, the numbers don't lie. We find these dudes that are running around, messing with, molesting, raping young boys and girls, and we don't want to call that out. But we sure as hell want to call out members of the LGBTQ plus community for just living their lives. So I'm proud that WCPT has a float in the parade, and I'm looking forward to being there as part of this team that supports a tenet of progressive thinking. So there you go. A little preachy this morning, but when I saw this clip yesterday, I was like, I want to get this one in, but we got it in today. On today's show, we have two wonderful guests. All of our guests are wonderful, so let me make that clear. Today we have with us Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza. Yeah, y'all, she's going to be with us talking about some great ideas with regard to businesses in one of our communities here in Chicago. And also with us this morning from the representative from the 15th District will be Mike Kelly, talking about safety and products that we should be mindful of when it comes to our firefighters. So looking forward to chatting with both of them. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and that's our Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
Personal space? Sitting next to people in public, even if there are tons of open seats? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. There's still time. Come to Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale and get a queen mattress and adjustable base for just $499.99. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls and talking to Tom Moss of Indivisible Chicago, Tamara Jacoby, director of the new Ukraine project at the Progressive Policy Institute, and Joel Ostro, professor of political science at Benedictine University. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. Central here on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk, for 20 years. That's 2 decades and a couple weeks now. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Rachel Ruttenberg, Democratic candidate for the 9th Illinois State Senate seat currently held by Laura Fine, Renee Harler, Executive Director of Animal Care League, and former Congresswoman Marie Newman, author of A Life Made from Scratch, Lessons of a Controversial Congresswoman, Mompreneur, and Unstoppable Political Activist. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Central here on WCPT, the Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And tomorrow, it's Wednesday. Choose Views contributor Kurt Mullett will be with us from Hoosier Blue 63. And Patrick Hanley, head of the new Trier Democrats and Democratic candidate for the 9th Illinois State Senate seat, will be with us. And guess what's happening on Friday? Yes, it's that first Friday of the month. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson will be back with our This Month with the Mayor segment. So looking forward to that. Obviously, we'll be having some fun there. Couple of quick Choose Views news items, and then we're going to talk about some other current events that are happening here on June 3rd, 2025. Big brands step back from Pride. And so there was a reason, a little bit method to my madness. You might be seeing fewer rainbows from Pride big brands this Pride month. About 39% say they're dialing back their public Pride efforts this year. A recent survey of corporate executives. Many say they are afraid of customer backlash, like the one Bud Light faced after it partnered with the trans influencer in 2023. Others fear repercussions from a government that's turning its back on DEI initiatives. Some companies are focusing inwards instead. CNN reports boosting efforts to recruit and engage LGBTQ employees. I got so much to say about that. I really do. It's like, well, then if they're going to turn their backs on people, which is what they're doing, then we shouldn't buy their damn products. Let's turn our backs on them. And there's no apologies in me saying that. They're going to turn their backs on because they're worried about a backlash. If customers don't want to, then we, the bigger backlash, believe it or not, comes from us that are in support rather than those who don't want to do business with them because they support, like that one woman that was in the Target store. Isn't it interesting how Target buckled kind of to that situation? They buckled again to the current administration. So it's interesting. But all right, guys, it frustrates me. Disney cuts hundreds of jobs. The Walt Disney Company is laying off hundreds of employees this week, citing anonymous sources. The job cuts are mainly affecting Disney Entertainment, with some others hitting corporate financial operations. Disney has carried out 4 rounds of layoffs in its TV operations over the past year, as CEO Bob Iger, back for a second round at the helm of the entertainment giant, looks to cut at least $7.5 billion in cost. And this one was like, I thought, all right, this is kind of an eye-opener. Campbell's up on stay-home trend. What does that mean? The Campbell's Soup Company notched better than expected sales in the first quarter of this year as customers cooked at home at the highest levels since 2020, according to the soup maker. However, the company's snack division faltered as penny-pinching shoppers turned their attention to ingredients that can be spun into multiple meals. An increasingly unusual move these days, Campbell's stuck with its outlook. They did stick with their outlook for the year, noting that it's taking steps to minimize the damage from tariffs, which may ultimately include price hikes on some of their products. So, good on them. A couple of quick Choose Views news items this morning. What I was saying earlier, then I promise I'd come back to this with regard to Heartland Signal. There's a couple of clips you guys want to check out. Make your way over there and grab these. Scott Perry calls Medicaid a money laundering scheme during an interview with Fox 43 News in York, Pennsylvania. U.S. Representative Scott Perry asserted without evidence that Medicaid is used as a money laundering scheme by states. Yeah, okay. Take it away and see what happens. And that's the fear that we all are having. Down in, or I should say, in Michigan, U.S. Representative Lisa McCain, Republican from Michigan, struggles to respond to U.S. Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa's sarcastic apology for her "well, we're all going to die" comment. Listen, I think she was trying to do a, quote, play on words. The fear-mongering has got to stop. Well, then if that's the case, then y'all stop it first. Republicans, you all stop the fear-mongering. I mean, if that's going to be your way of responding to something that's insensitive, you don't make. See, this is the thing. This is why, I'm going to give a shout out to my radio sister on the West Coast, Stephanie Miller. That's why comedians don't land well on the right. They land well on the left. And speaking of that, we're going to have comedian Cliff Cash with us on Thursday. But leave that stuff alone, Republicans. Trying to make a joke. Trying to be, and to be flippant about it. I mean, we're all going to die. Well, we all know we're going to die. Let's live. But how about this, Joni Ernst? How about helping to make sure that while we are alive, that we have the most prosperous, wholesome, good life that we can? Meanwhile, your dumb A makes a comment about we're all going to die. She needs to go. And reporting is that there is a mounting effort now to go after her seat in this next cycle. She needs to go. She punked out on Hegseth. And the disgusting part about that is she should have. This is where I appreciate the people who've said things like this to me, and one of them is Eric Grant. That they all need a spine. I mean, this is how powerful the Senate could be. If the Lisa Murkowskis who said they're afraid, if the Joni Ernst who said she's afraid or is tiptoeing around, if more of them just stopped and said, wait a minute, we have the voting power to take this fool down and all this craziness. I mean, you have to ask yourself sometimes, what do they really believe? What is in their core? Are they that rotten in their core? I mean, to literally say to someone that, or to say to a crowd of people, most of which voted to keep you in office, that we're all going to die, it's extraordinarily callous to say that. And for anybody that's listening anywhere in the country that's on the right, part of MAGA, trolling this show or trolling the station, that wants to say that you guys are always negative about Republicans, well, that's because they give us so much to work with. And like my girl Stephanie says, respectfully to Stephanie Miller, leave the comedy to the progressives. Leave the comedy to the Democrats. Because that wasn't comedic at all. And it was flippant and it would play on words. No, it was insensitive. And so if the Republicans who hold the numbers in the House by a narrow margin and in the Senate by a narrow margin can't see that they're hurting their own people that voted them. And this is the part that, here's the part that is so crazy. It's kind of like what I said about Trump during COVID. I believe, I could be wrong about this. I've said it before, and it's just something to think about. But guys, if Donald Trump had come out from the jump, and I've said this before, and said, look, y'all, this COVID thing is a beast. We're going to lose some folks. We're going to have some losses that are going to break our hearts. We need to prepare ourselves for this. And said those kinds of words, it's my belief that he potentially would have won the 2020 election. Had he been honest, had he been forthright with the country and frankly the world, because if we're the world leader, I believe that if he had done that, he may have won the 2020 election. Maybe not. But it certainly would have given a lot of people who didn't vote for him because of how he mishandled COVID in that short window, Devin, they would have said, he at least tried to protect us. I don't know. I could be wrong. But this is the point I'm making, is to tie this to Republicans right now. Republicans are worried about they're afraid of the wrong persons or people. They're worried about what the administration might do to them. They were elected by their constituents. They should be afraid of their constituents, which is why I keep saying every show, or at least every week, call your elected federal officials and your state ones too, because a lot of these knuckleheads that are making some of these statements are state reps. They're parts of state legislatures. So call them too. But on a federal level, those folks should be afraid of us. They should be afraid that we're going to the Republican elected officials should be afraid they're going to get primaried by somebody that's at least going to tell the truth to the town hall people. Like, how cool would it have been if someone had stood up in that town hall with Joni Ernst made this statement about we're all going to die. Someone had sort of stood up. If someone had stood up and said, yeah, and your political career just died because I'm running against you. How bold would that have been? Can I say it? How ballsy would that have been? Okay. How badass would that have been? He knew that Devin is a mind reader and a lip reader. But think about that, Dev. Just imagine if someone that voted for her had said, you know what, yeah, and your political career is dead because I'm running against you for saying that and not leading like the state that voted for you. That's what Republicans don't realize. They should be afraid of their constituents, not Donald Trump and his punk A administration, incompetent administration. There are school teachers in Iowa that could do a better job at running the Department of Education than Linda McCann, that have been teaching for 20 years, that could do a better job than she is. And we could go down the list of people in red states who are Republicans that have led and have done certain things in roles that are equivalent to the positions in this administration that could do a better job. Give me a week and I could find a replacement, a Republican replacement in this in a Republican state that could replace and do a better job as a Republican. So I'm being reverse partisan here than the people that are in that administration. So the senators and the House of Representative members should be afraid of their constituents, not of the administration. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people and the planet. Visit credomobile.com. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the heart of World War II, while the skies rumbled with the roar of combat, a groundbreaking squad of pilots emerged from the segregated South, the Tuskegee Airmen. An elite group of African-American pilots defied the odds with their courage and skills. Trained at the Tuskegee Army Airfields in Alabama, they became the first black aviators in the U.S. military. Despite facing racism and skepticism, they soared through the skies with unmatched precision, escorting bombers and earning a distinguished reputation for their bravery. Their red-tailed P-51 Mustangs became a symbol of excellence and resilience, and in 2007, the Tuskegee Airmen were finally honored as they were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. These aviators didn't just fight for victory in the air, they battled for equality on the ground, forever altering the landscape of the American military and inspiring generations to come. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Mostly cloudy skies here for today. We'll see a high in the upper 80s. Breezy southwest winds increase around 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting as high as 35. For tonight, a chance for some rain late, cloudy, a low near 67. By Wednesday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy, temperatures steady early, then slowly fall through the day. Thursday, mostly sunny skies. We'll see a high around 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 70.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. Here are some current events, some things that are happening that you guys can just be plugged in and aware of. And this one is concerning. I want you guys to go and look up. Let me tell you the basis of this. There's a showdown that's going to be taking place over the power the courts have, and that's going to the Senate. What am I talking about? This big, beautiful bill has a provision in it halfway through that is designed to take away power from the courts. And it is Section 70302. I'll say that again. Section 70302. I will email it to you if you missed it. But let's talk about this for a second. The section of the bill, it states that no court of the United States may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given when the injunction order was issued pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 65C. Okay, so what does all that mean? What do all those fancy words mean? The breakdown is, in simple terms, this means that if a judge or judges, they basically would not be able to issue contempt orders against defendants who defy the court order, unless the person who first sued for the injunction or the restraining order had forked over a bond at the very start of the lawsuit. And that's because of that goes back to the appropriated funds part of this section of the new bill. So let me break that down even further. The simple way of talking about it in layperson's language is they've tried to weave this into the bill that essentially says that courts or judges that are sitting on those particular benches don't have the ability to enforce a citation, a contempt citation. So in other words, again, breaking this down even further, if the Trump administration, because this is directly designed to take the baton from John Roberts in the Supreme Court and presidential immunity and extend that to the administration so that a person in the administration that's called in front of a court or does something that breaches a court's restraining order or temporary restraining order can't be actually cited or brought to justice or in any way interrupted their flow of breaching that injunction. Still more, too many words to say. They're jamming this into the bill secretly to make it so that they're trying to take away the power of judges who have been part of the firewall in this current environment since since the inauguration. It's their attempt to say that judges have no power to tell us what to do when we break the law or we push the boundaries or we're on the fine line of ethics. And there can be no restraining order or there can be no injunction. There's no, because the courts are funded by, because the courts have been appropriated funds to operate, you can't file for an injunction or a you can, but the person that it's being filed against or the entity in the government that it's being filed against doesn't have to comply. How about that? Read between the lines, y'all. So there's a lot more to it than that. But when I was going through some of my notes and some of my information, I came across this and I thought, this is another reason why I've been frankly preaching about this for the last week plus, that you have to call your senators, you have to call your governors, you have to call your lieutenant governors and your AGs. And we're going to have Ms. Mendoza on with us in a little bit. And you may want to call some of your controllers in your state, if for no other reason than to give them some support, because they're going to catch hell if this bill goes through. Governors, lieutenant governors, AGs, controllers are going to catch some hell because the way in which it changes the financing dynamic in states. So please, y'all, take some time to make those calls. And oh, by the way, the Capitol switchboard number, again, is 202-224-3121. Again, 202-224-3121. Make that call. Make your voice be heard. In other current events and news, and we're going to get to a couple of clips, I just love, this is how weak A Donald Trump is, his administration is, and candidly, unapologetically, those who keep supporting this administration. So I don't have to call you maggots or MAGA or any of those. You call yourself MAGA. So any of these MAGA folks that are out there, anybody that still is supporting administration, when is your guy? I'm just curious. When is your guy going to either stop blaming or just take responsibility and man up? Donald Trump never mans up, and I don't mean that from a gender-based standpoint. You can man up and be a woman or woman up, So it's not about gender. You all know me. But when is he going to man up? And what do I mean by this? Trump blames the Colorado arson attack on Biden's immigration policies. Maybe this was part of your immigration policies in your first term. But and other GOP leaders took a similar position. Stephen Miller. See, here's the thing. None of these punks get challenged, y'all. They don't get challenged. Challenge them. They're weak. When you challenge them, they buckle because they get their strength from people being intimidated by what happens if I challenge them. Well, challenge them. You know? I mean, challenge them. And this is what happens when they go unrestricted without any pushback. Somebody needs to say to Donald Trump, or how about this in a press conference? Rather than asking Caroline Leavitt, KKK, asking her questions that she's somewhat prepared for because she reads I won't say she reads the room, but she reads what's going on. So her staff has got her prepared with a lot of pre-rehearsed answers for the top 10 topics right now. That's how that job works in part. And that's been true with other press press secretaries. So left and right. That's part of how that job is rolling out. So why not someone start to ask questions differently? Like, how about this? When is Donald Trump going to stop blaming everybody else for things that have happened on his watch? When is that going to happen? When is your administration, Caroline, going to stop blaming and pointing fingers at everybody else and not taking rather than taking responsibility for things that are happening when you all said on day one, where you've had 100 plus days? Ask the question that way. So yeah, I'm kind of pointing my fingers at mainstream media and those that are in those press conference rooms. But at any point, and this is the question, when is Donald going to man up? He's never going to man up. He's blaming President Biden's immigration policies for somebody committing an act of violence like this. I mean, irrespective of the reason, the dude's rationale, he did it because of what I've read of the pushback for the harm that's being perpetrated on folks in Palestine. That's a little bit of all of our responsibility if we really want to break it down in terms of our, how much restriction should we have on what Israel's doing? That's a conversation that we have to, if we're going to be fair and honest, should have. But to that end, when will this administration, when will the MAGA mindset and followers ever stop and ask this question? Because how quickly they got to, the word terrorist came out of their mouths before the sun set. But when a event takes place in one of our schools, and our babies, our children, our teachers, etc., get slaughtered, people tie themselves into pretzels, staying away from the word domestic terrorist. They do their darndest to stay away from using the words anything close to homegrown, American-born, white dude terrorist. We do, not we, but that's what happens in the mainstream media, and it happens when it comes to Republicans that are in elected offices, and particularly those who are followers of MAGA. The words can't come out of their mouth that was domestic terrorism. But let somebody that's brown skinned do something stupid like this. They lose their damn minds. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I've got a couple of clips that we want to try to get to before we hit the top of the hour. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping find by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-775-5622. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-775-5622. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid. Have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-775-5622. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for by Cars R Us and Find the Children.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Chew's View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, progressives and everybody else, you center right that are trying to find your way away from the craziness, you independents and all. We got a home for you here. Y'all can hang out and be a positive contributor to this effort of resetting our country because we need it. I was talking about MAGA before we went on the break, and when is your boy going to step up? And you know, this is part of the conversation. And sometimes it's a hard one to have, but it's one that needs to be had. It's like, how do you support the people who are perpetrating these ills and beliefs on our communities? And I came across this clip that I kind of thought was appropriate that Devin and I put together, and it's called The Wives That Support MAGA Men.
Y'all see what just slithered out of Kansas City? Thomas Rousseau and his band of merry idiots. White supremacists with their faces covered because they're nothing but goddamn cowards. But you know what? I ain't even talking to them now. I want to talk to the women behind these men. The wives, the girlfriends. The ones that stand behind these men, sometimes literally, while they spew their hate. You let him walk out the door dressed like a Dollar Tree stormtrooper and didn't say a what is wrong with you? And guess what? This makes you just as complicit, just as hateful, and just as cowardly, girl. You don't get to pretend you didn't know. You live with that man. You raise his kids, you cook his dinner, and you iron his clothes. You know exactly where he's going, and you say nothing. You share his silence and back his hatred with yours. So don't be surprised when people start looking at you like the enemy. You are. Thomas Rousseau and his band of merry idiots want to march for white supremacy. You, the wife, the girlfriend, you have the power to stop them, and you don't. So you might as well just put your little mask on too.
Yeah. Gosh darn it. That I thought, wow, boy, did she nail it? Because we have to ask that question. Like, okay, if your boy is out there causing, and this is let me give a little bit of context here. This was because of these guys, and I do find it interesting. You know, these guys are walking around with these, you know, sort of white masks on, their khakis and their caps and their, you know, their little outfits. As someone said to me, they're modern day versions of brown shirts from the Hitler regime. And it is. It's nothing other than that. You can call it what you want to. You can say, oh, it's a freedom of speech. Yeah, it is. But it's also speaking garbage. And it's speaking garbage in a way that's about hurting people. But I think what's is amazing, you guys have heard other people say this, make this comment. These are the same people that, from a mindset standpoint, couldn't wear a mask during COVID. Devin's eyes perked up. Couldn't wear a damn mask during COVID. But now that they're out there perpetrating this hate and this garbage, oh, they got their mask on. They got their little, you know, uniforms on. But she's right. The wives, or the, I'm gonna try to, you know, be as gender respectful as I can. The spouses of those that are perpetrating the garbage. Where are you? She's right. If you don't, you can't say that you don't believe in what they're doing if you're complicit in letting them do it. And I say letting them because you should make some noise if there's a member of your family that's out there, particularly if it's your spouse, causing harm to people that they don't even know. So I'm on a little bit this morning about people causing harm to folks in the community, whether it be our LGBTQ community, Q+ community, or it be others. You're supporting something that can't be Christian, like State Senator Bisignano said. You can't be a believer in the faith of Christianity, or really of any faith, if your goal or part of your objective is to cause harm to other people because they're different. And then in the same vein, like Monty Marty says, who is my new biblical authority, says you can't have it both ways. You either follow the text or you don't. And harming other of God's children that you don't know is not your responsibility. I was having a great conversation with our good friend and partner, Michelle Peltier, after the family meeting on Sunday about parts of this, passing judgment on others. Who gives you the right to do that? I mean, as a regular, everyday person, you get to pass judgment and then commit acts or turn a blind eye to that? No, that just doesn't work. So, here's another clip that I just found interesting. Do we have the Republicans at work crews? Is it? And it's been dustified. All right. Here, what I'm talking about here is this is one of these. It's a clip that I came across where this guy's talking about how, this hypocrisy, and this is the thing. This is kind of my mindset this morning. The hypocrisy. In one vein, you got these guys who were running construction crews whining about all the Mexicans that are in the country. But when you break it down and you look at the crews that are most prevalent, the guys that are most prevalent, and women too, in their crews, they don't look like John Smith from Central Iowa, if you know what I mean. So Devin and I put together yet another clip. It kind of leans into this thing around hypocrisy, Republicans and their work crews.
One floor above us.
Yeah, see this? One thing I never understood about Republicans, I'm retired military. I've been around these people for 20 plus years. I know how they think. This is what's confusing to me, what I don't understand, is industries like construction, landscaping, agriculture. And look, and I'm not saying that people who identify as Democrats or liberals can't or don't own these type of businesses in this industry, but typically in these industries, it's a conservative dude or person that owns these companies. You see their trucks around town, they got Trump all over it, and then you look at their crews. They're like 90% Hispanic. You look at these landscapers around here, it's like Billy Johnson and Son and Juan and Hector are the dudes out here cutting people's grass. I don't understand this. Y'all don't like these people. Y'all hate on black and brown people all the time, but when it comes to your business, you hire these people. I don't get it. You complain about them, but you're the first ones to hire them to line your pockets with money. You don't like these people, but you want them here to work for you. And then you kick them out the country because it makes you feel good and superior to somebody else. It makes you feel like you're part of an exclusive group. Like, why would you vote against your own self-interest? I never understood that. You see it so much. They talk about shutting down the border, and then you look at their work crews, and 90% of their work crews are people from Mexico, El Salvador, South America. It's crazy. I don't understand it. Why do y'all do this? It makes no sense to me. 0 sense. 0. And you say these people are lazy and they don't work, and 90% of your crew are people from other countries.
Hypocrisy, y'all. Hypocrisy. The others are bad until we decide that we need them. So whether it be the conversation around religion and faith, like Senator Bisignano said, and Christianity, or it be what this gentleman talked about in terms of the work crews that are out there, or as the lady said about the wives who are living in hypocrisy by allowing their husbands, and that's what she said, but spouses who are allowing their spouse to perpetrate this hypocrisy. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't stack up. We've got one more that we're going to hit you with before we go to break. And that's, it was a TED Talk that I had a chance to listen to, or part of it, about, again, the other, these people, the hypocrisy. So Devin and I put together one other clip we want you guys to check out before we get to the top of the hour. These people.
Growing up, I learned that these people get food stamps and sell drugs. You see, one day my dad was going on a rant about just that when a guy knocked at my door. So I went and let him in. the guy went and sat with my dad, handed my dad some money. My dad weighed out the right amount of and gave it back to him, a drug deal. And then my dad took the money from that drug deal and he put it in his wallet, right next to some red, yellow, blue, green food coupons. You may have heard of them. They're called food stamps. Did my dad see the hypocrisy of us having food stamps and selling drugs while he's telling me about these people getting food stamps and selling drugs? No. Because my dad would explain it like this: son, I work hard and I pay taxes, so I deserve these food stamps. It's a toxic cycle of white supremacy and white ideology that has survived the test of time. You see, during slavery, only rich white people could afford to enslave other people. But to prevent the poor white people from empathizing with the plight of enslaved black people, what the rich white people did was this. They told the poor white people, hey, if you work hard, you can be like us. And what they did was they gave them management positions on the plantation, called them overseers. That way they were more important than the enslaved black people. The idea was simple. You might be poor, but hey, at least you ain't black. That ideology, that mindset has survived the test of time. Fast forward to my dad sitting in the living room ranting about these people with food stamps and drugs while selling drugs and using food stamps. I can hear it. We might be poor, but at least we ain't black.
And there it is, y'all. A morning of conversation around hypocrisy, whether it be State Senator in Iowa, John Bisignano, whether it be a woman observing the hypocrisy of wives who allow their husbands, or to be broad, of spouses who allow their spouse to be hypocritical in what they perpetrate. And let me get this right. It's State Iowa Senator Tony Bisignano. Make sure I get that right. Or whether it be guys who run construction crews that have hired brown-skinned folks, but they're at the tip of the spear. Let's get rid of them. Let's mass deport folks. Or as this gentleman said in the TED Talk, the hypocrisy of, at least we ain't black. You see why sometimes we overcomplicate this conversation around where we are today. And why the lie of it's because that the Democrats didn't talk to, and I heard what Bernie said the other day, and I was like, come on, Bernie, that they didn't do enough when you've got this at the core of why people could not vote for this black Southeast Asian woman to be a better president than what we've got now, this dog pile of an administration. I didn't say the other word because Devin's hands are tired from bleeping. But y'all know what I'm saying. But at least we have great folks and great leaders here in the state of Illinois, like our state comptroller, Susana Mendoza, who will be with us in the next hour, and Illinois State Representative Mike Kelly from the 15th District. Both great leaders here in Illinois. Looking forward to having them on the show during this next hour. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views. That's the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. If you have children, they are always going to be your special bundle of joy. And if they're a newborn baby, you want to make sure what's best for them. So here are the best baby product companies that support the Democratic Party. Procter & Gamble. Now, Procter & Gamble owns Luvs, Pampers, and All Good. In 2024, Procter & Gamble gave $599,000 to the Democratic Party, 61% of their donations. Procter & Gamble supports the Democratic Party. Kirkland Diapers. Now, Kirkland Diapers are owned by First Quality. And First Quality does not give to politics, but their employees do, and their employees lean slightly to the left, as $50,000 are donated to Democrats in 2024. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. A joint exit poll shows that Liberal candidate Lee Jae-myung is forecast to win the South Korean presidential election. He would succeed Yoon Suk-yeol, the former conservative president, who was removed from office in April over his imposition of martial law. The winning candidate will take office Wednesday without the usual 2-month transition period. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk says Parliament will hold a confidence vote on his government on June 11th. The decision came after his political ally, the liberal Warsaw mayor, lost Poland's weekend presidential election to conservative Karol Nawrocki. The Prime Minister's government runs most of the day-to-day matters in Poland, but the president holds power to veto laws. And Nawrocki's win will make it extremely difficult for Tusk to press his pro-European agenda. Authorities say a man who carried out a Molotov cocktail attack on demonstrators in Boulder, Colorado, had planned to kill them.
Authorities in Boulder, Colorado say suspect Mohammed Sabri Solomon had 18 Molotov cocktails when on Sunday he disguised himself as a gardener and carried out an attack on a group holding its weekly demonstration for the release of Israeli hostages. But police in an affidavit say that Solomon threw just 2 Molotov cocktails because he got scared and had never hurt anyone before. Solomon appeared in Colorado Judicial Court on Monday.
We are on the record at this time in 25 CR 785. This is the matter concerning Mohammed Suleiman.
The court issued a protective order, meaning Solomon cannot contact any of the victims, but he is still behind bars.
With respect to bond, the court previously set bond on the written affidavit. It is set at $10 million cash only.
Authorities say in court papers that the 45-year-old had planned the attack for more than a year, targeting what he described as, quote, a Zionist group, end quote. I'm Donna Warder.
This is AP News. Police in Portugal have started a new search near where toddler Madeleine McCann disappeared in 2007. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
A new Madeleine McCann search is underway near the Portuguese holiday resort Praia da Luz and a house near where the main suspect, a German national identified by media as Christian Bruckner, used to live. Journalists witnessed police at a road leading to the search area and a car entering, allegedly carrying German police officers. McCann disappeared from her bed while on vacation with her family. She's not been seen since. Detectives acting on request from Germany will carry out a broad range of searches this week in the area of Lagos in southern Portugal, a Portuguese police statement says. Bruckner is currently serving a 7-year prison sentence in Germany for raping a 72-year-old woman in Portugal in 2005. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Mostly cloudy skies here for today. We'll see a high in the upper 80s. Breezy southwest winds increase around 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting as high as 35. For tonight, a chance for some rain late, cloudy, a low near 67. By Wednesday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy, temperatures steady early, then slowly fall through the day. Thursday, mostly sunny skies. We'll see a high around 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 72.
Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, progressives and all the rest. Everybody's welcome here. Welcome back to Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is the Credo mobile phone and text line. And stay tuned for our progressive lineup today. The Stephanie Miller Show, my radio sister on the West Coast. The Tom Hartman Show, professor of everything progressive. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. And none other than Patty Vasquez, my bookend that's driving you home. Check out Patty's show. Check out Joan, Tom, and Stephanie. Well, you know, I said before the break that with all the craziness that's going on, we here in the state of Illinois have been blessed with some phenomenal leaders in our state legislature and, of course, in our overall administration. And with us is one of those, what I call it, the four, the primary four in my mind. That's me saying it, not everybody else's. And let's welcome to the show our own state comptroller, Susana Mendoza. Good morning, Madam Mendoza. How are you today?
Good morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're both smiling, and I know we make each other smile because I love your work. I love your commitment, and, you know, you're always right there in the fight. Like back in your soccer days when you were making sure you were defending and scoring those goals back in the day.
That's right. That is right. You know, back in the day, I went to this women's event the other day, and I have to share the story because it's funny, but I went to this women's event the other day, and it's not often that I'm, like, just in front of women, you know? So I'm just in front of women, and I'm telling this story about how I used to love to play soccer, and it just came out. I'm like, yeah, you know, I used to love kicking balls, and not much has changed these days, right? I'm still kicking balls. And it's like, but anyway, I shouldn't have said it, but I just said it again. But it was super funny. But the point is, yeah, we're out there working hard, you know, and doing what needs to be done, fighting a good fight.
Well, and that's appreciated. I will tell you this, and I've said this to you before personally and when you've been on the show, you and if you're getting more phone calls in the last week or 2 weeks, because people are calling, I've been saying, call our governors, lieutenant governors, AGs, and state controllers or comptrollers, because they're going to catch some hell if this big bill in the federal bill gets through the Senate. So not only call your senators, but call our state leaders to let them know we got you and we got your back and we're there to support the work that you guys are doing. And you've been a champion. You're one of the four, as I say, that have been there making sure, obviously, the budget bill that you guys got passed, getting the state's finances back in order. You were at the tip of the spear of making sure that not only happened, but it stays in check. So thank you again. We can't thank you enough for that. And we know it's been hard as hell to get some of these things done, but you've been leaning in to make sure that that no stone is left unturned. Let's talk about.
Thank you. It's so nice of you.
Well, I mean, I believe that's where we have to start as voices or leaders. We have to start being nice and work toward that. And as we work toward that, we'll probably galvanize a little bit faster. And you guys are doing a great. And we know it's hard. I mean, I've said this so many times, Susana, that and I say that respectfully because Devin and I were joking around about how do we go? Do we go comptroller, controller, Ms. Mendoza? but
potato,
right?
Whatever works. That is fine too. Yeah.
We know this is what you guys signed up for, but we also know it is hard to get certain things done, and that's why the state of Illinois and the four of you in those positions as governor, lieutenant governor, AG, and controller have been a model for the rest of the country and have shown the leadership and have kicked some quote unquote balls to get things done. So keep up the good work. We've got you. I'm an advocate of what you're doing and will continue to be a supporter and at the same time help to push you guys moving forward. Let's talk about one of your late video that your video and audio we were going to play, but we couldn't get it queued up fast enough. We may be able to get to it or play it at the end of the segment. But you've really been leaning into the importance of supporting businesses in different communities, and specifically, you have cut a recent video about businesses in the what we'll call Asia on Argyle, a community here in the city of Chicago, also known as Uptown in part. Let's talk a little bit about that and what you've been doing and why that's such an important part of your message right now for small businesses.
Sure. We'll start with the first video and then go into the Argyle video. The first video, did you see it? It was on Little Village. Not sure if you caught that one.
I didn't get that one. No, I didn't, honestly. Go
okay,
ahead.
Well, I'll make sure to share that one with you. But that video is what started what is now like a series of videos that we're working on. And it started because I walked into a restaurant in Little Village, so on 26th Street. It's called Nuevo Leon, one of my favorite Mexican restaurants. And I walked in a few months ago, and there was a press conference happening, and it was, obviously a press conference where everyone was beating up on Donald Trump, which, is so easy to do, just given the chaos that's happening. But when I talked to the owner of the restaurant, who's a friend, and I asked her, how are things going? I went in there just totally coincidentally with a group of my staff because we were working out in that area, and I said, let's go get lunch. And next thing you know, walk in, there's this press conference, and then I tell her, so what's going on? And she's like, oh, our business is getting killed. She's like, we've seen a reduction from 60 to 70% in that specific restaurant in sales, whether it's dining sales, pickup, or deliveries. And she's like, ever since all this talk about immigration raids and so forth, she said the people in that community, which is largely Mexican-American, but also a huge influx of just immigrants, Mexican immigrants primarily in Little Village, were scared. They were scared to leave their house. They were scared to send their kids to school. Clearly, they were scared to go eat. And as good as her carne asada tan pequeña is, it might not be worth risking your livelihood over, right? So
right.
Her point was that their business has been there for 40 years, right? These are all, frankly, the irony here, too, these are like American-owned businesses. Or she's a Mexican-American, but she's an American citizen, right? Like her family and all those businesses are owned by people who have legal status in this country, yet nonetheless, we're getting pummeled. And so imagine going from like 260 ticket sales or receipts a day down to like 62, right? It's brutal. Yeah, and so she's like, I don't even know if we're going to be able to stay open. And I'm like, what? This, like I said, it's an iconic business on 26th Street. So I thought, look, we can, yell all we want about the situation. You and I both know he's not listening. He doesn't care. But how do we get people into those seats? So that's how we really help that business, which, by the way, helps the state of Illinois. So people always say, why do you care about this? It has no connection. I'm like, of course it does. Anytime a business closes in Illinois, that's less revenue coming into the state of Illinois, which means my job gets significantly harder. And I love it when people are creating revenue for our state because they want to, because they want to go have an amazing meal, right? Not because we are taxing them more, but because they're spending more of their hard-earned money on things that make them happy, right? So this was like the idea. Let's do this cool video showcasing like my, perhaps 8-10 favorite places on the Strip, and let's ask people who aren't from that community to come check out that amazing, vibrant, awesome, super fun place and have the best Mexican food of your life. And we did the same thing for Argyle Street. Argyle Street is still recovering from the pandemic, the aftermath of the pandemic. Many of those little fronts closed and weren't able to open back up. They have a CTA construction actively underway, which has meant no one's riding the CTA to get to that neighborhood, so it's been cut off from its usual, easy access and transportation. So I'm trying to, highlight these amazing, vibrant corridors, ask people to go out there and support them, see that you're going to have a good time. I'm doing you a favor by you doing me and those businesses a favor of going out there and having a great time. You will be happy. And showcase these beautiful communities that a lot of Chicagoans and people from Chicagoland, they're with us every day, but they haven't explored them. They don't even know. And so we need to better connect all of us to that.
Yeah. So do you mind if we play the video audio of the clip that you did up in Argyle?
No, please. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we're going to play that now.
Hi, I'm Illinois State Controller Susana Mendoza, the state CFO, but today I want to be your tour guide. I'm joined by State Representative Han Wing, and we're going to take you on a great tour of Argyle Street.
Join us!
Woo, let's go!
This exciting enclave is on the National Register of Historic Places because of its high concentration of Chinese, Vietnamese, Cambodian, and other Southeast Asian immigrants and businesses. You will hear it called Asia on Argyle.
Come to Fat Milk because that's where the best Vietnamese coffee will be found.
I got the Vietnamese signature of iced coffee.
Get that real Vietnamese coffee cultural experience. You see that we brew it a very traditional way.
Why are we here?
My mom's been coming to Argyle Street for 40 years, and this is her favorite place. She says you have to get the pho with filet mignon.
Filet mignon. Which is why we're here, because we want to support small businesses and we want to support them on Argyle. You need to come here as well. I'd climb a tree for a croissant at La Patisserie P. The best bakery shop here in Argyle.
2008 U.S. baking team came in first place.
First place. Have you ever seen a chocolate chip cookie croissant? Oh, cute ideas. A single dad made these. All this stuff in here, so much of it is just from the community. It's locally sourced. It's awesome. Meow.
Okay.
For 44 years straight, the best Peking duck is at a honky on Argyle Street.
My parents have been coming to Juan Mi forever.
To Juan Mi?
Mine too. Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, anytime I'm feeling sick, this is my
I
go-to.
should get that.
You want to try it?
It's good.
It's really good.
For the best bò nè,
Also known as dodging beef.
come to Nhà hàng Vietnam, bánh mì.
Oh, yeah. Dick, what are you doing here? You get around.
I heard Miss Saigon was fucking bad.
Oh, man. Wow.
You don't get this out in the middle of a cornfield.
Let's do cheers. Every one of these little storefronts, whether it's a little one or it's a big one, but every single one of them has a story. Yeah. It just represents somebody's dream. See you on Argyle!
I think one of the best lines of that is every single one of these businesses is a representation of someone's dream and someone's desire to build and be a small part of a bigger community. And that's what's so cool and unique about what you've done with this video. And I know you'll send me the one from Little Village. What else? Where else are you going with this sort of, I'll call it, series of videos that you're doing in different communities? What's on your whiteboard potentially? Without letting the cat out of the bag.
No, it's okay. I'll tell you what's in production now is the Chinatown video. We're doing one in Chinatown. It's such a fun place to go visit. You know, in a couple of weeks they're going to have their dragon races on the water, which this video will be cut before then, but we'll probably use that to do a new one for next year. But there's so many cool places to go, and I took a tour with Alderwoman Nicole Lee from the 11th Ward on that one, and other key Chinatown business leaders or civic leaders. And we also toured Ping Tom Park with Ernie Wong, who's the architect of the park. So that park was built by Jeannie King and Ernie Wong, or designed, I should say, by them. Some other really famous architects in Chicago. It's kind of at the crossroads of all cool things architecture. And then you have this incredible view of Chicago skyline behind it. So just a really, 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 really cool, fun video that hopefully people will like and inspire them to go out and support these businesses and to learn more about these communities. I think that's what makes Chicago in particular such a cool city, is that we have so many little enclaves of coolness happening, many of which true Chicagoans who have lived here their whole lives haven't even fully explored. So I think it's fun to connect us in a way like this that brings people together instead of, dividing everyone, which is kind of what it feels like today, right? Everyone's against everyone. We should be for each other. Yeah. And then we're also doing one in Southern Illinois where I hop on a Contour Airlines flight, which is only a 1 hour wheels to wheels. You get on and you're off in an hour in Marion, Illinois. It's a 5.5 hour drive, which is also actually, believe it or not, a very easy drive. It's not sometimes I swear I'm in an hour of traffic here on the Kennedy and it feels like 10 hours, But there's a 5.5 hour drive where it's fun. You can stop off at, Wally's or other places and then see how the topography of our state changes, because so many of us think that, Illinois is just a flat prairie land, but in fact, we've got some spectacular bluffs and really cool hilly areas in southern Illinois. Kind of reminds you a little bit of like a little piece of Colorado. We have this place called Garden of the Gods, where you can climb the cliffs and see the Shawnee National Forest. You can zip line through the Shawnee National Forest. You can canoe, you can fish, you can boat. You can do it all. And so I want people to see the rest of our state too, right? To think about, instead of going on vacation in Michigan or Wisconsin, stay in Illinois. Go spend your money on having the most incredible weekend, horseback riding, staying in cabins. Oh, my gosh. And the vineyards. The vineyards are like, wow, you do not have to go to Napa Valley. Just hop on that 1-hour flight for less than $100 and you're in Marion, Illinois, with like a 20-minute ride to one of the most beautiful vineyards. Blue Sky Vineyard is a perfect example of that. So I'll show you guys all of this in one of my next videos, which will be the Southern Illinois. That one's going to have to wait a little bit because I took this shot of like the vineyards as they're just starting to grow. So like the grapes are teeny tiny. They don't even look like grapes yet. So they went from this to this, and I have a huge, thing of grapes ready to be harvested, and then ultimately to this, me drinking them, right? So that's how you make this video fun. But
well, I got to tell you,
we're gonna have a good time.
They're gonna be there. I will tell you, there is. I knew this would be the case. There's folks that are gonna be saying, okay, great plan, but what about some of those businesses on the near south side of Chicago, whether they be southwest or southeast? Sure. Some of those businesses in Hyde Park, some of those traditional African American communities that as well as I do, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't call that out. So you got to roll through there too, because there's some folks in Hyde Park that are going,
Oh, no, of course. Listen, it's so funny because I've been also getting phone calls from people saying, hey, can you come cover this or can you come do that? I'm telling you the ones that are in production already. But like I said, the Southern Illinois one's going to have to wait because I want to catch the harvest of the grapes, But we already have. So the one that we're doing right now, we just filmed it yesterday, but we're not done filming it, was the Chinatown one. And Dick Bigger is going to be making like a Dick Bigger Jr., who's in both of my videos. He was the star of the Little Village video. And he's doing like cameos in all my videos. He's kind of like my Stan Lee in the Marvel movies, He'll make little like guest appearances because he's so funny. He's got such a great voice, unlike me. But I want to do one of the South Shore businesses and some on the, so I also want to do like, for example, think Bronzeville, right? There's historic places, including like Pearl's Place, which I highlighted in my DNC video when I did that. But we have great, cool coffee shops and great places for breakfast and dinners too, right? So like you covered all, plus entertainment and things like that. So we're going to be covering South Shore, Bronzeville, the U of Chicago, Strip. You've got Medici and some really cool restaurants. There's actually a Cinco de Vanitos now, which was from Filson, which is in Hyde Park. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening. We're going to cover it all.
You got to reach out. You got to let me know. I'll dive in and help. I'll hold a camera. I'll stand in the way to keep people out of the way because it sounds like a lot of fun. I love watching the Asia Argyle one that you did because you were bouncing around and clearly enjoying yourself and doing the thing that we have to do right now, Madam Mendoza, and that is we have to make sure that not only when we reach out and how we reach out, that we're doing it in a way in this crazy time when they're trying to divide us on a federal level and in some state legislatures, not here in Illinois, but when they're trying to do that, we have to be our own best player. We have to connect with each other. We have to make sure we're doing it from an inspirational standpoint. And that is one of the things that I have been saying for such a long time. You have been doing that so well. A.G. Raoul has been in a tough role that he's in. Both Lieutenant Governor Stratton and Governor Pritzker have been doing it from a position of inspiration and aspiration to show the strength of our community, our state, and we have been a model in that area. So I can't say it enough how much we appreciate you taking your role that seriously, and as much as it's been important to individuals, it's been important to the success of our state. So kudos to you in that regard.
Thank you so much. And, hey, I'm going to throw something out to you. So as your audience is listening and thinking about all of their favorite places, they should shoot you an email if they want me to stop by anywhere in particular. And we will consider adding it to our list and see if it makes the final cut.
That's a great idea. You guys can send that email to me at richard@WCPT820.com, and I will make absolutely certain that our controller, Susanna Mendoza, gets it. And then she has to kind of, she'll have to do the review and check the box and see if it's going to make the cut or not.
Don't get mad at me if it doesn't make the final cut, okay? Don't get mad. Just still tell me about it, and I'll go visit it anyway. But, there's another video, too, I want to tell you about, I want to work on, is that strip on Devon Street.
Oh, yes.
Where you've got Pakistani and Indian food. And
Yep.
I think, given just all the drama these days, it might be fun to bring people together through food,
That's it.
I went to a wedding. Recently where a Pakistani woman married an Indian guy, and they could get married, right? So let's have some dinner together. That's kind of like how I think. Let's show people what our city is truly about, what our state has to offer, right? And that's the fun of being a state controller, is I have a big footprint and I get to highlight all those things. But I do think, given how this started with the fears of immigration, it really is what highlighted the first video, but then got me thinking about, wow, there's so much more that we could do here to highlight other areas of Chicago and other areas across the state that people need to know about. And get out, especially as we get ready for summer.
Yeah.
When you're thinking, what should I do? I can't think of anything to do.
Let's go someplace
Just pop in
different.
one of my videos and go hit one of those places. Yeah, it'll be super fun.
Go to a different neighborhood. That's one of the best ways to get past our own blindness is the wrong word I want to use, but our own blinders and, self-imposed barriers of I don't want to go here, here, or here. No, go there and check it out. And typically the people in those communities, they welcome, they want you there. And particularly if you're bringing business to if it's a restaurant, by all means. And I want to circle back to one thing you said earlier. It's kind of a wrap up. The reason that what you're doing also is so important in terms of highlighting the communities is it's a connective tool, but also from an economic standpoint, which I know you understand. You talked about revenue, and I wanted to mention this earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you. The revenue loss of a business closing isn't just the revenue loss of the business. It's also of the people who work there that pay taxes and that spend money on things. And as a result, the money that they don't get to spend or have to spend because their business that they worked for, small business, closed, it's a double whammy of impact on our community and our state at large. And that's why what you said before about making sure that our businesses are stouted up and supported is so critically important.
Yeah, no, 100%. Thank you for driving that point home, because this is really kind of like the crux of it all, right? That the irony that people think that, our communities are unsafe, yet contribute by by closing down a business. You're certainly not making the community any safer. Right now, you don't have a business there. You have had to let people go. To your point, they're no longer collecting a check. More likely than not, we'll have to be on unemployment for a period of time, which means we're paying more out of the state's coffers instead of adding to the state's coffers. And it makes communities more unsafe. So it's a terrible, terrible thing when any business has to close because it can't afford to stay open. And especially when it's through things that are out of their control, like, the fear that exists in communities because of immigration. Or in this case, like the hit that so many little small businesses on Argyle took because of something which we would consider a good thing, which would be the renovation of the L. It has cut off the supply of customers to that area, which that's immediately after a pandemic that they were really trying to recover from. So it's these little things that people kind of need to know and put the pieces together. And to see why we need to support these corridors, we need to keep them lively, we need to keep them contributing to the economy, we need to keep people employed. And when you do all those things, you're keeping people happy, and it creates a more safer environment. So it's a win-win-win across the board, or it could be a big fat L.
Which we don't want to. We don't want to take the L
in Chicago.
We're not
yes,
taking the
exactly.
L, taking the W. Well, it's great to have you with us, our controller here in the state of Illinois, one of the big four, as I like to call you guys. Susana Mendoza, thanks for being with us this morning on Choose Views. We appreciate all you do, all your hard work, and we look forward to having you back when that next video drops. Sound good?
Sounds awesome. Yeah, we'll talk after the next one. You got it. And hopefully before that, too.
Yeah, we will.
But you have an awesome week. It's beautiful. So get out there and have some fun.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a great day. Bye now.
Thanks. Bye-bye. You too.
All right, let's go to a little bit of a quick break, Devin. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. In the summer of 1881, 2 decades after the Civil War, 20 African-American laundresses met at a local church in Atlanta to form the Washing Society, a trade organization which looked to create a higher uniform wage and greater work autonomy for laundresses, also known as washerwomen. Through the help of local preachers and door-to-door canvassing, the Washing Society grew from 20 members to 3,000 in only a few weeks. The workers went on strike and faced opposition from their employers as well as the local politicians. The Atlanta City Council proposed a licensing fee for their organizing efforts. Strikers agreed to the fee in exchange for self-regulation. In the end, the City Council rejected the proposed fees and the laundresses prevailed. The impact of the strike led to increased wages for some, but showed that African American workers, including women, were vital to the New South economy. This has been a WCPT moment in labor. We're working for your rights.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners. And we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moretlawoffice.com. That's More spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Mostly cloudy skies here for today. We'll see a high in the upper 80s. Breezy southwest winds increase around 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting as high as 35. For tonight, a chance for some rain late, cloudy, a low near 67. By Wednesday, a chance for showers and thunderstorms. Cloudy, temperatures steady early, then slowly fall through the day. Thursday, mostly sunny skies. We'll see a high around 74. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 72.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
What a great morning to have our controller, Susana Mendoza, with us this morning here in Illinois. She's one of those, there's so many things I can say good about her, and I'm excited about her political future and what she's going to take on next. Who knows what that will be, but I'm certain that whatever it is, she's going to do a great job. And I love her excitement. When I first met her a couple of years ago, that was the thing that was the overarching part of her, is her excitement and energy that she brings to the conversation. And so we will, when I say the big four, that's not to put any lesser value on our other state legislators or our federal folks. But Governor Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, Attorney General Raul, and Controller Mendoza have done a great job to keep our state moving forward. And I know that you guys hear me say it a lot, and some might say, oh, Rich, you're just being a homer. You're doggone right I am, unapologetically, because they have done a great job of getting our state back on track and moving it in the right direction. But our state legislators, members of our General Assembly, have also done a great job of that. And with us this morning is one of those other great team members that we have, in Representative Mike Kelly from the 15th District. Good morning, Representative Kelly, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself? How's your morning going? Sun is out.
Sun is out. Beautiful day. It's great to be on the radio with you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Well, for those who don't know, Representative Kelly is he's a Chicago native. He's a guy that's been around for a bit. He's done some great things, and probably one of the greatest things that he's done in terms of his career prior to being an elected official was a firefighter. And one of the things we're going to talk about is an area that he's really pushing hard in terms of something that he wants to get banned. But Representative, take a moment, if you could, and just introduce yourself to the audience. Let folks know a little bit more about who you are, and then we'll get into a little bit of a chat about something that you're really working on when it comes to safety for firefighters.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm a 22-year Chicago firefighter. Currently, I work at the firehouse right behind Wrigley Fields. It's been a great career. Met a lot of great people, work with a lot of great people, and look forward to the 10 or so years I have left in the department.
And you've been one of those advocates for one of the things that I think, in my observation, Representative Kelly, it's taken for granted, and that the safety of our firefighters is on point where it should be, and sometimes it's not. By nature of the work that firefighters take on, it's a dangerous job. It's a dangerous career, and we applaud those who are in the profession. But one of the things that you've been really leaning into recently, in the time that we're going to chat this morning, is banning what's known as, and I actually had to do a little bit of reading and research myself to kind of understand this a little bit better. But I was shocked by this conversation around forever chemicals in firefighter gear and its connection to cancer risk. And let's talk about that. Let's just dive in and get into it. Tell us a little bit more about this, what you're fighting for or against, as it were, when it comes to forever chemicals.
Yeah, so we have faith in the gear that we are wearing to protect us when we're going into these dangerous environments. And they do a really fantastic job of keeping us safe in that environment the time that we're in there. But we've come to find out that the forever chemicals that are in that gear is also giving many of the members that wear that gear to protect themselves cancer. There's not one person in the fire department anywhere across the state that doesn't know somebody that's died of cancer. And when this was brought to my attention, and working with the Associated Firefighters of Illinois and Chuck Sullivan and Steve Shetsky, we kind of thought that this would be our big push this year to try to get these banned and get the companies starting to look for a proper replacement. And in some cases we have those replacements, and in some cases we don't. So we're just trying to push that conversation forward.
So this is part of Bill House 2409 that you've co-sponsored with Senator Vollmer. And
yes.
Tell us, okay, so this is where my brain got stuck, but I know a lot of people would want to have a little bit of clarification. Is this chemical a preservative that's added to equipment, or is it something that's part of the manufacturing? And then what's the interaction with the firefighter when it comes to the chemical and how this is going to sound silly, but it's the only way I can think to ask the question. How does a firefighter become influenced by the forever chemical?
Well, it is part of the turnout gear that we all wear, and it is the retardant part. So it does a great job of keeping us safe from the fire and the heat. But when it's interacted with water, which is obviously what we're going to be using to put out fires, it has a opportunity to seep into to be absorbed into our bodies. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're starting to run into the issues. And it's just not something that we knew until recently. And it's something that we've got to get to work on.
So how many firefighters specifically, and you may have already said this, so I apologize, specifically that you know of have been affected by or contracted cancer as a result of this that you know of?
Oh, man. I honestly, I don't have a number. I had a friend of mine perish last year in April from cancer. A young man named Mike Lynch, who was 51 years old, captain on the fire department. He passed away just probably 6 months ago. Our former president of Local 2, Jim Tracy, he has been dealing with colon cancer, and he was diagnosed 22 years in, which kind of triggered me because I just hit my 22nd year not too long ago. And they're scattered throughout the Chicago Fire Department and across the state of Illinois. So it's, like I said, there's not a firefighter that doesn't know another firefighter who's passed away from cancer.
So in that space, then, is it something that we ban from a manufacturing standpoint, or do we ban it as just not to be used when it comes to firefighter protective gear, or both?
Well, I think there's a big calling to be banned for the chemical in general. What we're trying to do is keep it out of our firefighter gear. But there was I've seen language for many bills that have been looking to ban the forever chemicals in all types of things, but my bill was specifically to firefighter gear and our breathing apparatus and all those kind of things.
Got it. We're talking with Illinois State Representative Michael Kelly from the 15th District. Representative Kelly, another question, and I know I'm kind of getting a little bit nerdy, but I want our listeners to be aware, because every one of us is impacted by our firefighters across the state. I mean, this is earlier this year. We had an alarm go off one morning as we were entering the building here at the station, and I felt like it was a scene out of Chicago Fire, because everybody showed up, and thank God for our firefighters here in the city of Chicago. But this is something that's taking place throughout the rest of the state. My question to you is, and this is a big question, I don't expect you to have an answer for it, but your thoughts. What about on the national level? Are other districts, other states are they using it, and are they having some of the same findings that you have been able to uncover?
Yes, there are every state's using it currently. There's been a few that have already banned it. I believe it was Maine and Minnesota. Minnesota went out to 2032. Ours was moved up to 2027. And we're willing to work with the companies if need be. But we already have, the thing is, we already have turnout gear that we wear every day that is forever chemical free.
Okay.
What we don't have is inside of the masks that we wear for the breathing apparatus, there are parts in there that are contained in hard plastic that have those forever chemicals. Now, those are the things that we've given them a little more time on, but the gear itself is already available. And what my bill would do would be that once your current fire gear is out of service because of the date, you cannot purchase any more equipment that has the forever chemicals, and those are readily available. So in the state of Illinois, you would have to purchase those.
So it's basically, it's not just a budget concern. I mean, it always is a budget concern or financial budgeting concern, but it clearly is a shelf life concern. So, I mean, can you go in and just, like, right now inspect the gear and say, all this has got to go? I know that comes with a cost. Is there a provision to be able to do something like that, or am I out of bounds in that space?
No, right. That is not what this bill does. We obviously know the concerns of every fire district and every municipality, and there's real cost on this. So we know we can't just say, take it out of the firehouse, bring in brand new stuff right now. It's not feasible economically. We get that. It's when that shelf life is done, replace it with stuff that is going to keep the firemen and women safe. We understood that in the bill, and that's why we did it that way.
Got it.
If I could do something further with the state and securing funds to replace all this gear throughout the state, I would certainly look into doing that. It just, at this time, it's not. Doesn't seem like that's going to be an option.
So let's go back for a quick second, Representative. When you said that there are other states, Maine is one that you highlighted, that have done it. So this then is frankly, it's a national issue, or certainly not just in Illinois. So does it get into a conversation, and I don't know if you and your colleagues in the state legislature or other experts have talked about it this way, but does it get into a conversation around how the EPA would be involved? Because this is clearly, like when the product is no longer used, it's the disposal of it. And if heat is part of the trigger to it being more pervasive, how do we get rid of it? I mean, how do we make sure that it can't be, is the equipment destroyed? And again, I know this is one of those questions that you probably weren't expecting me to ask you, but I think folks are probably curious about that.
Yeah, I wish I could speak on the science of it. I'm just a fireman who wears it, but I have a business degree from Quincy University. I don't have any type of science background, so I can't answer that intelligently, unfortunately.
But I appreciate that. That's why I laughed with you in that question. We know our lanes, but it is a national issue. It is an issue that's an environmental issue, because obviously there's so many people that are impacted by the use of it. Thank you for the bill, because this is impacting not just the firefighter, but also his or her family, and that whole list goes on of people that need to be protected by House Bill 2409. I want to ask you a little bit of a pivot. I want to ask you a question. When you were running and you were first kind of taking this on and saying, this is kind of going to be my next plight, or part of my next plight, you really leaned into three areas that I think are critically important on a state level, but certainly on a national level. And those three were gun violence, standing up to gun violence, fighting for lower health care costs, and an advocate for working women. How, if you were to give yourself a grade in that space in terms of the time that you have been a part of the legislature, where would you say, how have you been successful? What are some of the things that you've seen as promising in those three areas that you were running on?
I would say, a B+, because I think everybody can always do better. I've been supportive of legislation that has come through the General Assembly on all of those, and I also like to push mental health care. And I've worked with Representative LaPointe on some of her projects and her bills, and she does tremendous work in that lane. And I think that's the best part about the General Assembly and how diverse it is that we have an opportunity to work in the public safety sector and in gun violence and fiscal responsibility and those kind of things. But we have people that are more or less subject matter experts in that, and it's just great working with them and their expertise and bringing forth good legislation for the whole state.
Yeah, and you have really done a wonderful job of that. I mean, you represent a pretty broad and diverse district, but that includes both city and suburb and neighborhoods that are ones that have diverse population in terms of the size, but also in terms of the community at large. So with session, this next session that you guys are going to be entering into, what are some of the things that you're really focusing on? What would be your top 2 or 3 things that you say, okay, I know the bill is a big one with regard to forever chemicals, but what are some of the things that you're really kind of leaning into in this next session?
Well, I've had an opportunity to work on a pension work group for pension reform. We know we have some serious issues with safe harbor for Tier 2 workers. So I'm continuing to work on that, and I think that is going to be a major focus of mine over the next 6 months or next few months until we get the veto, and then until we can get a solution figured out. Obviously, the other big sector, I'm part of Transportation Committee. I'm the vice chair, and obviously we have a transit fiscal cliff coming up that we've had a lot of great work on, and the time ran out on this session, but I think we're going to be able to get pushed across the line a good reform on the transit and figure out how we are going to fund that.
Yeah, you're right. Those are hugely important issues because transportation impacts everybody in the state of Illinois, obviously throughout the country, but certainly here in Illinois and the greater Chicago metropolitan area and suburbs. Representative Kelly, great to have you with us this morning. This is a very, very important issue when it comes to public safety, but more specifically, those of our firefighters. So I encourage you to stay leaning in and stay strong in getting this done, because it is a health issue that we need to be mindful of. How can folks find you? How can they give you a shout out and say, hey, Representative Kelly, how can I help out? What can I do in your campaigning? How can I come out to one of your events? How can they find you?
Well, we're very active on social media. Mike Kelly for State Representative Mike Kelly, and you can always reach out to me at rep.mkelly at gmail.com. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
You had something cross your line of sight. You're like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah.
We all had that moment of distraction. Representative Kelly, thanks for being with us this morning. Shout out to you and our great state of leaders. And I say this so often, not perfect, but we're not looking for perfect. We're looking for people who work hard and continue to fight for all of us. And we had on just before you, Comptroller Susana Mendoza, and you are part of that team of Illinois representatives that are really showing the rest of the country what it's like to get things done. So thank you for that, and thank you for your hard work and commitment. And we look forward to having you back sometime in the near future. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you for the opportunity this morning.
All right. Well, be safe today in your travels. Enjoy this beginning of summer, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So there you go. For those who are in another state, we got folks in our state that are working hard to get things done, whether it be Representative Kelly, who we just had on, or our wonderful controller, Susana Mendoza, and her wonderful energy that she brings to the fight. And, kicking some balls. They both are, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but getting out there and making things happen. And as much as we in the state of Illinois oftentimes catch hell, and the city of Chicago catches hell from people who don't really care about our community, they just have taken it as part of their political dialogue to trash talk us. We keep fighting hard and keep succeeding. We do. And for those who are going, yeah, but you got this, this is go. I didn't say perfection. I bet if 10 people from the state of Illinois' leadership rolled into your community, we might find some things to whine and complain about. But that's not effective. We want to be able to fight forward and fight together and get things done. And that's what I believe our state has been doing. And that's why it's great and it's an honor to have representatives of the state, in this case, Representative Kelly and Ms. Mendoza with us this morning to talk about the things that they're doing to better our communities. So take that, all you people that are yelling and screaming about how awful Illinois and the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago and suburbs are. And by the way, we're not leaving to become part of Indiana. For the knuckleheads who in the state legislature of Indiana want to try to make it sexy to come and be part of Indiana. Why in the hell would we do that? When you got such bias and economic issues and racial issues and gender-based issues in your state. So, na boo-boo, we ain't coming. We're keeping our people right here, and we're going to make our state better so that the people that are here can make it known that we get stuff done. One of the people that we're going to have in studio that's been with us before on Friday, of course, will be Woodstock City Councilwoman Natalie Ziemba. And she's going to have a few things to say about what we're getting done here in Chicago, the greater metropolitan area and suburbs, and of course the state. and doing it in a way that says, hey, we're fighting. Mayor Johnson's going to be with us. That imperfect mayor from the city of Chicago who has all of his imperfections and didn't get it done the way, and the timing and all that, but the dude is still fighting. And I'd rather roll with somebody like that and our governor and our lieutenant governor and our AG and our controller than the knuckleheads that are part of the federal, the administration known as Trump. I'd rather roll with them than to roll with these other fools. And for those who are even in this city that complain about all its imperfections, I'll tell you what, rather than complaining about them or in the state or in the counties, why don't you get in the fight? Why don't you get in the fight? Why don't you roll up your sleeves and get in the fight rather than just complaining and whining about it? And some people might go, how dare you say I'm whining? How dare you say, well, unless you're in the fight, then you are, frankly. Get in the game. And one of the reasons I've said before, and I'll say it again, that I want to have, and I try to have on folks on the show who are working in community organizations and doing things that are part of bettering the communities, is because that's a way for you to get involved and to fight for forward movement rather than fight just for the sake of fighting. So we're going to keep that message out there. We're going to keep giving people a reason to fight and to be encouraged to go forward and to be inspired and aspirational at the same time. You know, I don't know how else to say it than to say it that way. We have to continue, and we will continue to fight. And whether it be on a state level with the things that we have to have challenges with, city level, or if it's on a national level, federal level, we don't have any choice, guys. I mean, you could choose to sit out, but why would you do that? Particularly if all you're going to do next is just, whine and complain. Don't do that. Use your energy in a different way. Go shoot a video like Ms. Mendoza is doing of your community, of your neighborhood, and show how cool your community is. Go do that. That's an idea. Put that on social media. Look at my neighborhood. Look at how cool my neighborhood is. Look at the things that we're doing. How about doing something like that rather than just complaining and whining? Find a way to use the resources that we have to do something that's going to create a better message for more people. You might be surprised. And here's the other cool thing about it, FYI. It might do you some good. It might do you some good. So, as we say at the end of every show, and I'm so thankful and proud to be able to say it, is to take a deep breath, guys. Thanks for being with us and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Are you tired of talking to yourself? We can get you an audience on the radio. You can produce and host your own radio show on one of our 2 stations. Please call 773-792-1121. That's 773-792-1121 and ask for Mark. Limited space available.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new CareWatch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The CareWatch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may